What time is it? It's journey time, and time for another creative journey using Stampin' Up products. Hi, my name is Cathy Hanes, and today we're going to be creating this adorable vintage looking card using the new Stampin' Up iconic dies. So this is the dies, and see there's several more that I haven't used. There's a bee, flowers, some more a fern, and some leaves. But I'm going to be using the bird, 2 mushrooms, and the twig, or whatever you want to call that, branch. So with those 4, we are going to take white paper, and this is what amazes me, is that there's no stamp set to this die, although I have created a stamp. But we're using some vanilla paper and some basic white cardstock, and out of this we're going to create this beautiful colorful card. So I'm really excited about this one. It kind of looks vintagey to me. I did see some posts on the dead bird Christmas cards. This was upside down. It had that same vintage feel to it. I don't get it still, but let me go ahead and show you how to do this. Let me hop on up here and let's get started. Make sure I'm in frame. Okay. So along with the iconic dies, I also used the stitched rectangle dies, and they have that stitched look. And I'm not sure if these retired yet or not, so I apologize if they're retired. But basically I lined them up on the gold foil cardstock, and I ran 3 of them through. So running through 3, I got the outside frame here, and I also got the inside frame here. It's a little thinner, and then the end result, you have this extra piece that you can use later so that you're not wasting any cardstock. Alright, so those are the dies that we use. And again, we're using, this is what just amazes me with this, but we're just using white and vanilla cardstock. And I'm going to show you how we're going to turn this in to something so cute. And we're also using the Stampin' Up blends. So I'm going to start at the blending brushes rather, and they're just wonderful. And I have some other ones that I might end up using because I don't have enough of these to cover all of it. And I compared them, and Stampin' Ups are the best. So let's go ahead and get started with our background. And I started with Balmy Blue. And I'm looking for my plastic. Here they are. What I've done, now you could take, this was packaging and something I got, but the window sheets would work too, but a thick piece of acetate. And what I've done is I put different colored names behind it, greens, oranges, reds, yellows, you know, put all the different colors. So I want to use blues, and I think that's the only one I didn't make a card for. So I'm going to use, wow, I wrote black twice, so I'm going to use this one and I'll cross it out later and write blue. But when you're going to do something like this using the blending brushes, you want to have something that is non-porous behind it so that you're not wasting all your ink on the cardstock below it or on your tabletop. This pulls it back into the project. So starting with, I think I used Bermuda Bay, I am going to, and always tap, tap, tap. Now you clean these when you're done. You rub them off on paper or a silicone mat, and it rubs off most of the color so that you can use this for any blues. Okay, I'm going to tap off, and I'm going to bring that color in. Tap off, bring that color in. Tap off, bring that color in. And you can see where you really, it's juicy, so you have to tap off. But I'm also bringing in some of that color that's left on my acetate. Okay, and I want to bring it down pretty far. And every time you do it, you're going to get a different effect. So I'm going to bring it down to right about there. And I could always go back in and add more color if I want. Now, I'm going to be using a green. So I'm going to start with Granny Apple Green. And on this one, I don't have a dedicated Stampin' Up one yet, so this is an off-brand that I bought. Let me get my green pad. Now, if you were done with that, I'm still going to use it so I didn't wash it off. You'd simply wipe it off with a baby wipe. So I'm going to tap off, and I'm going to bring in my greens. Okay, tap off, bring in my greens, start off with it, go in, tap off again. And now I felt it needed a little bit of a darker green also. So I'm going to, I don't have to clean it off, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Garden Green. And put this one away, tap off, and then I'm going to go in from the side and bring in that green. And in from the side and bring in that green. Okay, and then you can bring in more, pick up what I've got there, and bring in more. Okay, and I think that's good. Now, let me grab my baby wipe because I got some on my countertop. So just keep your baby wipes handy. And when you know you're done with the color, you can wipe off your plastic, but I'm not wiping mine off yet because we're still going to use them. Now I'm going to use my crumb cake. So let me find my brown. And again, this one is an off-brand. But I'm definitely going to end up with, and they were on back order for a while, so let me put my brown down. Where is my brown? Black, purple, red, yellow. All right. I'm going to use orange because I can't find the brown either. So, tap off. And see, this one's kind of stiff because it's not, can you hear that too? So it's not as juicy. It doesn't hold the color as well. But let's go ahead and then go with a darker color. I'll go with, this is an old chocolate chip pad. I would say very old chocolate chip pad that fell apart, but still works 15 years later. There. Okay. So I just wanted the bottom to look kind of like dirt. All right. So now we have all our colors on there. And I do want to go back again with the crumb cake because I really like that. So let me bring back the crumb cake and try a little more. I just really like the color of this crumb cake better. Okay, go a little higher. All right. So there's our background. It's easy peasy. What do you think of that so far? From white paper, I just think it's amazing. Now we want to work on our elements. So I've already pre-cut these. I'll put this aside. So I have 2 twigs, my bird, and this. And so let me get the chads out. And here's something that I do. I don't know if you guys do this or not, but when they have a lot of chads, especially if you've die cut a whole bunch, and so you have to be kind of careful, but I'll take and use masking tape to get some of the chads out. Okay. This one really should have done this before, but I'm just going to have to pop those out. I'm trying to see if I have my tool here. All right. So anyway, I'll go ahead and get the chads out. But I have one that I've already pre-done a little bit, but I'm going to go back over with some dark blue. So that was my black sheet. I'm going to use Night of Navy. He doesn't have a leg. Where's the other one? Okay, so this is one that I did prior. But I didn't like the way the teal didn't, the Pretty Peacock didn't jump. So I'm just going to add some Night of Navy. Okay. And I'm just going to go in here and see, darken that up, tap, 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 just so that he pops a little bit more off the background. Alrighty. And then I accidentally got his beak, but that will do. See, on this one, the beak, I've made sure I didn't get it, and it was pumpkin pie. But I have pumpkin pie on his feet, and then the rest of him is done, and that's just perfect. Now, let's go in and do our mushrooms. I'm going to use my orange side for the base. And I'm going to use my pumpkin pie. Get my chads out. But a lot of times I'll use masking tape, and that bird just wasn't cut perfectly enough, I guess. I should have run it through one more time, but I just cut about 20 birds. So, and I'm just going to start from the bottom and go up just to the base. So start, tap off the bottom, up to the base. And the bottom, up to the base. I actually do have one from Stampin' Up, and you're going to see the difference. Look at the difference, how easy the blending is compared to the off-brand. Okay, let's go back and do this one. So the blending brushes really do make a difference. It's not a sales pitch. You just saw I was struggling with the crumb cake and stuff. So yes, the blending brushes from Stampin' Up, they're the best. So now we're going to use Cherry Cobbler, which is one of my favorites. So I'm just going to use the orange again, and I will just wipe off that color. And let's grab our Cherry Cobbler. Okay. And we turn it over and tapping off and then going onto it. And you can leave some of those chads in there if you'd like. You know, I'll show you, because it just gives a different effect. So you could leave those in there, or you could pop them out. I'm going to leave them in and see. So I want the darker towards the top, and see all that ink that we're wasting if we were to do it on cardstock. And this way I can just bring it in and use it. What do you think of that? If you have better ideas, please feel free to comment below with any of your blending techniques. So there's our mushrooms. Aren't those adorable? And the last thing we have to do, wipe this off, tip it over, and do our green. So let me get our green. This one's the green. I'm going to find the, here it is. Okay, now tap off. I think that's the wrong color. That's Bermuda. So I'm going to wipe it off real quick. There we go. And go with the garden green. Okay, and bring it in lightly. Just kind of tap lightly. You don't want to bring in too much color because it's a dark color, but you want to bring in enough. So tap off. And because they're so delicate, this is so much better to do than a sponge where you would tear those. See how delicate those are? So isn't that cute? A little more here. And then there's one more that I just need the tip of, so I don't have to do it all. I can just do the tap off. You know, because I know what I'm doing, I don't need the whole piece. There we go, stay there. There's it. So we've done all our coloring. Isn't that amazing? So we've gone from just white paper to all these colorful components. Okay, figure out where you want your bird and your mushrooms. All right, so now we're going to put them together. Let me put all these tabs away. Again, these are the Stampin' Up iconic dies. All the measurements and links to all the products will be below, right under the like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be notified whenever I post a video. And I should be posting 2 more this week that are really fun. So here we have this done. Let's go ahead and mount them. I'm going to be using the Stampin' Up mini dimensionals for most of this, but the first thing I want to do is I want to glue my bird to this twig. So I'm going to tip her over, which is cute that way too. It has more orange, but we'll just leave it this way for now. Okay, so I want to use my Tombow glue, my Tombow adhesive, multi-purpose. This is wonderful stuff in more ways than one. Put some adhesive right there, and it looks like I want her right. It's a her. Although the most colorful ones in nature are not hers, but. And then I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive right back here. Okay. And I'm going to adhere this kind of towards the top, hanging down a little, I think right about there. All right, so my bird is lifted up. Later on we're going to bend her a little bit to give her more depth. See how she's bent a little bit? And then I have another twig that needs to come down here from the top. So I'm thinking right about there looks good. So I'm going to put adhesive right about here. Then put it where I want it, right about there. All right, and I love that the branches pop out. The next thing we're going to do is work on our mushrooms. Now I'm going to pop them up with mini pop dots. So I'm going to put, and I'm really not going to put any on the top, but I'm going to put one right here, one right here so it's stable. And then on this one, I'm going to put one on each side. And then two in the middle to make him stable, or her. Oh, yeah, so that one I got to move a little bit. All right. Now see, these, round them when you push them like this, because the way that the die cut also embosses, you can push them and kind of round them, and the same with the top here, kind of round them, give them dimensions. Okay, and I'm going to give this dimension too. Some of those are falling out, which is probably better. So I'm going to give it dimension, and what I want to do is peel off the back so we can use the, okay, so it's all sticky. Okay, I want to round it. I'm going to kind of hold it round when I put it on. So I'm going to put the base on first. Who's on first? The base on first. Keep it rounded. And I would say right about here. But before I push these down, I'm going to push them kind of together so that it stands out just a little bit. So see, it's rounded. See how it's rounded? And then this one I'm just going to put on, because I've already rounded him with my fingers, and then just right like that. All right, so do you see all the dimension in this card? And then I'm going to take my snips, turn it over, and cut off my excess branches. And now we've got that part done. Now I'm going to have to stamp a little hello right here on a just cut out 1/2 inch strip of Granny Apple Green. I'm going to be using Pretty Peacock. And you can imagine all the different colors. So if you have favorite colors, these are obviously my favorite colors. I use them a lot in my videos. Okay, and I just stamped my little hello. Now let me grab my scissors again that I just had in my hand. I'm going to snip that off about here and then cut in as far as I want. Then from the corner to that cut, from the other corner to that cut. And there I have my banner. Now I'm going to want to sponge it, and I can also use what I have left over here. Let me grab my and there's still enough on here that I didn't wipe off that we can sponge it to give it a little bit of depth. It's not done unless it's sponged. You know that my team members and my customers know that's my philosophy. Okay, so I shouldn't have put the glue on there yet, but I'm going to put it aside. It dries tacky. The next thing I want to do, I showed you how I got them, but I'm going to take my frame and I am going to put 6 small, the mini dimensionals, so they don't show. Now this one I want to move kind of to the top because I'm going to put that banner on one side. I don't exactly know where it's going to go. So okay. Now I'm going to take my covers off. Some of them I already fell off. That one's ready. And one more. Whoops, stay there. Okay. And now what I want to do is I want to take my very vanilla. Okay. And I want to lay this on there. Put a little bit of glue on the back. And we're going to adhere this to our base. So this is our base. And just center it. All right. Then I'm going to take my gold foil piece. I want to get under her tail. So pop her up. I want her tail to come over it. Come on. And I want to line it up the best I can. There we go. So the back doesn't show. There we go. And you might want to put the frame on first. You know, thinking about it after the fact. Put your frame on first and then build it. It's probably how I did it the first time. But now I'm going to take this and I'm going to bend it. Let's give it some shape. Stick it right in there. There you go. So it's almost finished. What do you think? The only thing I might do, because it's really bothering me, is take light pumpkin pie. I'm just going to give her a beak. There's always a way to fix something, right? Just a little tiny bit. Nobody will ever know the difference. Let's see. I don't know. I think maybe better without. It's going to bother me that it has no beak, but let's get back to what we were doing. Push that. All right. So now I just thought it needed a little bit of bling. And what I did was I took our rhinestone basic jewels and So Saffron, and I made my own matching color. So because it's an alcohol ink, it will stay. Once it's dried, it'll be permanent. Let me try the other end, it works better. There. And I usually give it a couple of coats on a lighter color. See, I've got some red ones there. Let's give it one big one down here too. Okay. So now blow, make sure it's dry, and pick it up with my pick-a tool is the best way to do it. Okay, so just kind of scoot it over. I haven't used this in a while, so I'm going to scoop some up. Just simply turn, and you know this comes with a refill too. But watch this, isn't that amazing? All right, so this is already, they're adhesive backed. So I'll put one right there. Scooch this one off, then pick it up. Come on, there we go. And I think I'll put one right there. And then I'm going to do a larger one, so scooch it off and take it over and pick it up. It's on a piece of adhesive, so right like that. Isn't that beautiful? What do you think? See all the different variants you can have, and then just keep bending this bird, because that's what I did, and gave it a little bit of oomph. So now I'm going to show you one more thing, and that is how I did this inside, because like I told you, there is no stamp set. So what you can do, anytime you have a die, you have a stamp if you have foam. So here is what I do. So this is just foam, it doesn't matter what color. And then I take a piece of the Sizzix two-sided adhesive sheets, and I put it, peel off one piece, put it on the back here, then you run it through the die machine, take it off, and then you peel the second layer off, which is this layer, and see, it's sticky. So what I did is I make stamps that way. So let me move this out of the way, and I will show you the stamps. Honest, I will. I have a real small workspace here, so things end up on top of each other. So here's one, the little one that we're going to use. But you'll see I doubled it up. So you do what I just showed you twice. You lay down the first layer, and then you lay another one directly on top of it. Otherwise, you're too close to the block, and you'll get additional color on the sides. It'll touch the edges. Then when you're done, you simply carefully pull it off, and I stick it to a piece of window sheet, and then it's ready for me next time. It's still sticky, and I can put it on another block and use it again. But again, double it up, because this is how thin it is, unless you're buying, you know, because you've got to run it through your die cutting machine, so you can't buy really thick foam. So I use a thin, just regular size foam, run it through twice, stack it on top of each other. Now when I'm done with this, I'll simply peel this off, and then I'll put it on a piece of window sheet, and it'll be ready for the next time. I just drop it in with the dies. So for any of these, for example, for any of these, I could make stamps, the bee, the whole bit. So I really like that technique. It really expands your horizons. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this inner piece and put it down first. So I'm going to move some of this stuff over. I'm going to take, and this is a thicker piece, so that's not the right one. Here it is. All right, I'm just going to put adhesive, because I'm going to put this directly onto the paper, onto the vanilla cardstock. Wipe that off. Open this up and lay it down. And with Tombow, you get a little bit of time to move things around, and I just want it. Now, here's another thing. Have you ever used glue, and then there's a little glue on the end that came out, and then Tombow dries tacky? So that's one of its benefits, but can also be one of its faults. So what I do when there's a little bit, like I can feel that there's a little bit, I take my embossing buddy and I tap it around, and any tacky you have is now gone. So that's just another tip I found really helpful. All right, so now I'm going to take my pumpkin pie, and you could do this two ways. You could do this with daubers, or you could do this direct to this pad, but I need that one, and I need my cherry cobbler. Okay. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my orange, or my pumpkin pie, and I'm Stampin' Up my whole stamp, okay? But then I'm going to take, and I do this often too, and just kind of go around the edges and kind of see where you're going, Stamp it up. So now I have some color in there, and it's always a surprise. Everyone turns out different. Press it down, and there you go. So isn't that adorable? So there you go. Even though there was no stamp set, this is not a bundle. It's just the dies, and I will list that below. It is a stamp set if you make it in. So what do you think? I just love it. I think it's a beautiful card, especially when you went from white and vanilla paper to this piece of art. So I hope you enjoyed it, even though I have a broken bird with, I'm going to figure that out somehow. So please like and subscribe, hit the notification button below, leave a comment, let me know what you think of my videos. You know, I really appreciate it, and I want to hear what you're doing. I really get excited when I hear somebody's used one of my techniques, and even sometimes I'll get them to contact me and show me what they've done, because that inspires all of us. So I hope you were inspired today. Thank you for coming on this another creative journey with Cathy Hanes, and I will see you in a few days. Have a good one.